Welcome to the Yeshiva Daf. We're holding in Menachos Daf Tzadikei. We got to Yibailu, a few lines down of Tzadikei Mudalef.
6.
Actually, I think it's 7.
It wasn't 7.
Yibailu, 6, 7. You guys know what 6, 7 is?
No, what's 6, 7?
Okay, if you don't know, leave it this way. Yibailu is Dr. Gemara. Lechem aponim nifsal b'masoyis or einu nifsal b'masoyis. Shaila, does the lechem aponim become puzzle when you're traveling and you have the bread? If one understands right now, they have the bread on the table. We have a B'Shur Melevi. Chado my nifsal, chado my nifsal. It's machlokes. Mando my nifsal dechtiv kasher yachanu keniso. The way they camp, that's how they travel. If you take the bread out of its place, it's in the cross puzzle. So also if one understands when you're traveling with it, it's out of its place. We'll see in the moment, the one is going to explain that. So therefore it's a problem. It says here, it's always going to be on it, even when you're traveling. They're the same din you have when you camp, you have when you travel. That was the pasuk Gemara just said a second ago. The kasher chenuk keriso, the same way when you camp, so is nifsal b'yotze if you take it out. So also when you're traveling, is nifsal b'yotze if you take it out. Meaning when it comes out of its place. So there's two madam. Each one has a different drush from the pasuk. The first one dash the pasuk says keriachnu keriso, tell you nifsal b'yotze. The other one says no. It says it will be on it even when you travel. So this one, what is he going to do with the first pasuk? Where it solves it. So when it says, otherwise, when it's stationary and the bread is in its place, doesn't become puzzle. In other words, as long as it's in its place, on the table, as long as it's where it's supposed to be, it doesn't become puzzle. So that's a dash.
So how did the table travel in the first place? It was carried?
Yes, carried. It was carried. It had poles.
So it wasn't on a way, it was carried.
It was carried, and it was covered. They covered the table from the outside, like a tchelis, I believe, and that's what else. The bread's on it. So it says the lechem has to be there always. If it's on the table, everybody agrees it doesn't become puzzle because it's where it's supposed to be. You took the bread out of the table. The same way when you are when the Mishkan is built, you take the bread out of its place, it becomes puzzle. So also when you're traveling, you take the bread out of its place, it becomes pasul.
Only if you take it away.
Yeah. If you leave it, there's no problem.
So we assume that the bread never fell off the table in the normal.
Normal way, no, not for us. Says the Gemara, okay, so that's Mando mer nifsol tichtiv v'nosa oil moed. Oil moedu. Meaning, even though it travels, it still has a din of oil moed. So that means, in a certain extent, when it travels, you don't have a din psul yaitze. Because we learned that earlier. When you have kachim and you took away the Beis Hamikdash, the Mishkan, there's no psul yaitze, especially because that's kasuf. So you dash the same thing over here. Even though if it will be built, you take the breads out, it becomes possible yaitze. But if the oil moed is traveling, there's no psul yaitze. You don't have the kedushas machane, there's no psul yaitze.
What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do when it's traveling?
Oh, what was it? The Gemara was going to say. That's exactly the sugya we started earlier. The Gemara was going to talk about it. The Gemara says, what is he going to do with the process kasher yachnu keriso? Leidach yiso. Meaning the same Joshua said before. While it's on the table, doesn't become puzzle. The same way when you are stationary it doesn't become possible, it's on the table. So also when it's traveling, when it's on the table, it's not a problem. But if you took it out from the table, it is possible.
What was the habit?
What?
What was the habit?
No, the shah. What do you dash in the pasuk? It says kasher chedukah. One mandoma dashes one way, meaning that when you travel, so you don't have a din of yaitze. The other mandoma dashes the opposite. You don't have a din of yaitze. It's two different drushes, right? Says the Gemara, "Videch nami achtiv v'yiroso el moed." The other mandoma it says noso el moed. Masha, wherever you go, it's el moed. So that's not to tell you everywhere you go is el moed. Just to tell you the order. What is the order of the traveling? You have the golim, you have Degel Machne Yehuda, Degel Machne Reuven, and then the el moed. The moed goes. That's his order. It says the Machne Levim goes within the Machnes. You have your first two Machnes, then the Machne Levim, and the other two Machnes. So you have a different pasuk to tell you the order. So I have a different pasuk. We don't need that pasuk. Okay, so that's the Machlekes. Machlekes is on the table. Everybody agrees there's no psul yaitze. But if you took it out of the table when you don't have mishkan, is a psul yaitze? Or you say if there's no mishkan, there's no yaitze. Basically, this goes now to your question. Shat silug masah is when you're traveling. Kochim nifsalim biyaitze. Kochim ikapasul. Because I don't have machne shchina, it's not machne shchina. V'zovin mitzroim mishtalchim chutz v'chitzasam. Zav and Mitzayra, they still have a machne. So the Zav, I don't have machne shchina, but I do have machne leviyah, and I do have machne Yisrael. What is the Mitzayra being sent out of? All three. It could easily be out of all three. Zav is being sent out of machne leviyah. So you can't be machne leviyah even when they're traveling. Machne shchina I don't have. My love, I feel lechem aponim. Masha, even lechem aponim is okay. Because lechem aponim, where you eat lechem aponim? Where is lechem aponim eaten? Lechem aponim is eaten in machne leviyah, in the Azara. The lechem aponim you don't eat in the Azara. You don't eat it in the Bris Hamikdash. You eat it outside in Harabais. You can eat it. So you may lay the same way I'm saying is a machne for Zovim, so it's a machne for lechem aponim. For the lechem aponim, machne leviyah, right? So in Mele, so he's saying, in other words, the same way you're saying that Kochim has a dinner of Yaitse when he goes out, so Lechaponim, Mash Lechaponim has a dinner of Yaitse. You just said there's no Yaitse with Lechaponim. Says the Gemara, according to one man Doma. Says the Gemara, Loi, Baim Lechaponim. Lechaponim, there's no din Yaitse. So Kochim, if I don't have Machne Shechino, I have a din Yaitse if it goes out of Machne Leviyah. Because where do you eat Kochim? Machne Leviyah. In the Azara. So the Kochim, I have a problem. But the Lechaponim, I don't have a problem. So more why? Manashach. Or El Moed Davka Hu Afilu Kochim Rami. Or El Moed Lav Davka Hu Afilu Lechaponim Rami. Do I say I need to have the oil moed? Do I need to have the middle machne in order to have all the machnes? And if I don't have oil moed, so the machnes or there's no din machnes. So then also the gabi kochim should be no din machnes. Should be no din yaitze. But you say by kochim there's a din yaitze. So by the chapanim. Why should the chapanim be different than the kochim? Right?
What does it mean that oil moed? What's
meaning does oil moed make the fact that you have machnos? If I don't have, the discussion is really that goes back. Where is this? This is the Gemara in Zvochin of Sanach.
You say oil moed dafka, and now there is no oil moed, so
there's nothing.
So should be no oil moed for anything else either.
Right. If there's no oil moed, so I'm mufka from all the machnos. So the Gemara Mavshach. I'm mufka or not mufka. If I'm mufka, so kochim should have a problem. But the Brisa says the kochim do have a problem. Elam, I'm not mufka, so Lechaponim is not a problem.
You're telling me they can't slide all the machnas?
Yes.
So technically the Levium, the Israel, they can all go through the
Yes. Yes.
Against commission.
Because there's no machnas. Oh, you can mish, exactly. Or not. So that's the shayla. When I don't have oil moed, is everything complete or not? So Omar, Mar Mesudor, Umar Mesulok, V'loy Pligi. There's no machlokes. Everybody agrees that if the bread is on the table, there's no issue. And if the bread is out of the table, you have the yaitzer. In other words, there is din machris. There is din machris. And if there is din machris, so then, if there is din machris, so you have a problem of yaitzer. No, please, no machlokes. Okay, that's what the Gemara says. So the Gemara comes and it concludes. When the bread is on the table, no issue. Bread is out of the table, you have a din of machris. You took it out of machna leviyo. There's a problem of yaitzer. Good. Amar Abaye, Shram no yisiluk masois balayla. You see from here that you could travel in the night. Why? If you're old, you can't travel at night. Mice, madly.
Why did you have the cloud going with them to light up everything at night?
No, you could start traveling. The fact that we'll see in a moment. We'll see. The fact that you did travel at night as well, we know. Charlotte, can you start traveling at night?
Can you start?
Yeah. Can you start traveling? Can
How do you get to travel if you don't start traveling?
No, maybe you start traveling in the day. You're traveling for 4 days. And you travel at night as well. But to begin to travel at night, I don't know. I have your raya, you do start in the night. What's the raya? Because if not, when do you start traveling? Let's suffer in the morning. My ear, you should be no. What do you mean? In the morning, because possible no. Elamai, I have to say they travel at night. What is it talking about? Rashi is talking about regular culture. The regular culture we learned before in the Brisa. There you have psul yaitze, or psul yaitze, or psulino. In the morning, because possibilino. Says Toys, I don't understand. Says Toys here in the bottom. Maybe they travel until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no psulino. It's culture that was shechter at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, they start traveling. And there's no lino, but there's yaitze. What's the issue? So Toy says, in the end, answers, according to Rashi, if according to Rashi, they traveled either the beginning of the day or the beginning of the night. The more understood, they didn't travel in the middle. It was either you travel when night starts or you travel when morning starts. So the morning you have a right, you travel when night starts, because the morning starts, it's psulino. There's no karbonas before, so it became psulino. So there's a different shot. We're not talking about kochi, we're talking about lechaponim. Lechaponim has a whole week. Has a whole week. So this is tomorrow. Okay, so you have lechaponim. When does it become sul lino? When it passed the Shabbos. So over Shabbos. Okay, maybe I travel on Mitzvah Shabbos, but the Shabbos still can eat the lechaponim. So you see, you travel at night. But lechaponim becomes psulino in the morning of Sunday. You didn't travel on Shabbos. So he says, clearly you didn't travel on Shabbos. So when did they travel on Sunday? So the lechaponim that you have out of the table has a psulino.
Isn't it early that we learned that they didn't take the bread off until the second purpose?
Till Shabbos.
Why is there lino then?
No, because
no, it was after Shabbos.
But is it on the table or not?
By Shabbos, yes, but it was after Shabbos.
But after Shabbos, because pulino on Sunday morning. So that's what it says. So you see, if we really travel more to Shabbos, according to Tosis. So Tosis doesn't talk about the lechem. So you have a whole week, but the first morning because possibilino. So Rashi is speaking about culture. Says more pshito. The lechem yoyim and valayla ksiv. Says they travel day and night. They travel at night as well. That's what Harry is saying. Says the Gemara, that's only they start traveling in the day. If you didn't start in the day, maybe you can't start at the night. That's exactly what we discussed. Kamashwa, that's a chiddush. Says the Gemara, very meaning. Gemara brings another question. Who grew up parichis? Once they took the parichis out, meaning they took out the Mishkan. Who tries zovin umitzuroim likonis lashom? The zav and the mitzvah could go into the machne leviyah. Not like we said before, they're not allowed to let them. It's machlekes. Blows are rabbanon. Tanya with Avsakim with base. Blows are imer yachol dochu zovim mitzuroim nichasu laazor pesach babatumo. Yachol yu chayovim. So what does it mean pesach babatumo? Pesach babatumo means that most of Am Yisrael are what? Tmei mace. Toma mace.
What is it saying?
Pushed in. Meaning, what happened? When you have Am Yisrael Batumas mace, So you took away the din of Tom and Mace from the Mikdash. Meaning, there's no Tvei Mace, a lot of so Tvei Mace is going to be Beis Hamikdash. Usually Tvei Mace can't go to Beis Hamikdash. Tvei Mace is not going to Beis Hamikdash. Now, what happens if the Zav and Mitzvah, they want to go in as well? They pushed in. So once it says, once I don't have Kedusha's Mikdash for Tvei Mace, so I don't have the Kedusha Machnos for anything else as well. So Yachol Dochud Zor Mitzroim and Nichasu Lazor Pesach Babetumo Yachol Yu Chayovim Tomud Loima Vishluchu Min HaMachane Kol Tzarua V'Chol Zav V'Chol Tomel HaNefesh. You send away all three categories, all three levels of Tumah. B'Shor Shetvei Meis Mishtalchim. When you send away the Tvei Meis, Zor Mitzroim Mishtalchim. Ve'ein Tvei Meis Mishtalchim. You don't send away Tvei Meis, and Zor Mitzroim Mishtalchim. So here you have a Mefevish. You have a Tana that holds that the Machnes all have to be always three of them intact. If one of them is missing, the whole setup falls apart. That's a blazer. And therefore he holds that Zav Mitzvah is allowed to go into Machne Leviyah. Because once I don't have any din of Tvei Meis, I don't have a din of Zav Mitzvah. Mashen Ked Tanakama there argues. He holds, I don't care if you don't have Tvei Meis, still Zav Mitzvah has his own Machne.
I would have thought that that's more Muslim. Because you see that there's different levels of tumah based on where
you can look at it. What is level 2 based on the mishkan? So if you have a mishkan, this tumah that's a tahara, and the more you spread out, there's less and less tahara. So the tumah can be, depends which tumah it is. If I don't have the middle, I don't have the core, I don't have the sides. Well, you see each one stands on its own. Now is machlekes. So the Mishnah. Achas, shtei alechem, ve'achas lechem aponim, the two breads that we're talking about in this parak. Lishosom, which means preparing the dough. Ve'arichosom, making their shape. Bechutz, you do it outside of the mikdash. Ve'afiyosom bivim, when you bake it inside. Ve'einom doichois is a Shabbos. You can't do it on Shabbos. The what? Yes, because we'll see in the Gemara, because possible lino. Once you bake it, it becomes Kodesh. We'll see in a moment. The Gemara is going to speak about it. So it's not Doiche Shabbos. You can't do it on Shabbos because it's only Echsha Mitzvah. Everything you do is inside. Lisho, Aricho, Afio. You can do it in the Azor, you can do it even outside of the Azor and Beispagi, meaning that even the baking can be done inside. So 3 shittas. Shitta number 1 says baking inside, the rest outside. Shitta number 2 says everything inside. Shitta number 3 says everything outside. So the Gemara. Haguva Kash. Says you can prepare the dough and set it up outside. Midas Yovesh Loy Niskacho. So mashra the midah of Yovesh you measure with the bread doesn't have anything kedusha. But the baking, which is done also in what? In the oven. Midas Yovesh is kacho. And all the more understands, Midas Yovesh is what holds solids. Solids. Not liquid. Does it have the kedusha or not? We learned earlier it's a machlekes. If Yovesh is kaddish or not. We're in the tzadik. Shabbos daf. Does the Yovesh go kaddish or not? Says Gemara, what? It is a machlekes. So now, look what does he hold? Yovesh is kaddish or not kaddish? If he holds kaddish, so you can't do the lisha in a richon either. Lisha, preparing the dough, is also done in a kli Yovesh. So how can you do it outside? Has the kedusha, has to be inside. Elamah, it's not kaddish. So why can I bake it outside? Baking is also done in a kli, in an oven. So the Gemara, Iksha Odom Kosher Shu Kosher Kabbalah, is a very interesting expression. Someone hard, that he is hard like metal. Umanu of Sheshes. The house of Sheshes. My Kasha, what's the problem? Dilma Yisor, Lemikadesh, Tonum Mikadesh, what's the problem? The regular Yovesh is not Kodesh. But the oven is Kodesh. Not all Yovesh became Kodesh, except the oven is different. So what's the big problem? The question was as follows. If you can't do it on Shabbos, if that we saw also earlier. If you say it became Kaddish, so I can't do it before Shabbos. What's the reason I can't do something on Shabbos? Because Efshar Soysa Lifnei Shabbos. But here I can't do it before Shabbos. Because it becomes Kadosh, and you wait overnight, it becomes nicer. So if you tell me that it becomes Kadosh, that's why you have to do it inside. So how can you tell me that you're doing it before Shabbos? That's the Gemara's question. And that's the Gemara's going to say, no, it has to be done on Shabbos inside. So ask someone hard like metal with strong questions. What's the question? Maybe inside means not in the place of the Azorah, which means as Gdusha, means in the place where Koyanim are. Not inside. The place where you have Koyanim there, they can do it Zrizi, make sure that nothing wrong happens. This act, what Ravashi says is wrong. If you want to have Zrizi, because you just want to have Koyanim involved, so why is it between baking and preparing the dough? If you hold, you don't need Zrizim. The one says this answer of Ravashi doesn't go, because to say that smoke comes Zrizim, so why only this and not the others? You have to tell me that Afiyah is inside. Why? Because it becomes Kodesh. So if it has to be inside, if it has to be inside, it has to be done that day. It can't be the day before. So even if it's the Shabbos, you have to do it on Shabbos. So if you read the sheet that says, everything is done inside. Meaning the Chura that he's learning that it becomes Kodesh. They're all dashing the same pasuk. This pasuk is a pasuk in Shmuel where David the Melech was very, very hungry, and he meets the Koyanim, and he's asking for food. So the pasuk there says like this. It says, David tells the Kohen, Vayan, no required, exactly. That's what the pasuk says. So it says the one he finds that they're baking lechem upon him outside of Beis Hamikdash. Why are you doing der choil? You can't do it der choil because it becomes kodesh and becomes possibilina. So Abiyudah says, he's telling him the kli makes a kodesh. So David Melech gave him a musar. He says, what are you doing making it outside the choil? You make it b'choil, it becomes kodesh b'kli. You have to do it inside, not der choil. So he says, I said b'choil outside, b'choil on the weekday. I said, they started doing it on the weekday, on a Friday. So what are you doing on Friday? It becomes kodesh. So you have to do it inside, do the whole thing on Shabbos. So he says, Shimon Tzova, b'Shabbos, that's Shechinah to go for them. Shimon goes, no. David Melech finds him baking it on Shabbos. What is the Musa of David Melech? Why are you doing it on Shabbos, doing it on weekday? Midetano Mekadesh, sure, put him in the Kaddish. It doesn't become Kodesh until you don't put it on the table. So in other words, David Melech was at a time against what the Kohanim were doing. What was the time? Same one, the Mechalik and Rabbi Shimon. Rita says he did it on a weekday. He says, why didn't you do it in Shabbos? Because Kodesh. So Rita says everything has to be done inside. The Shimon learns the opposite. He says, why are you doing it on Shabbos? Do it on a weekday because it's not doesn't become Kodesh. Says the more, you want to tell me you found him baking lechem upon him? That can't be. It says that he did not have there what to give it to him. Right? It says he gave him kodesh because there was no bread. So what you're saying that David Melech was telling him how to bake it. He found him with the bread. He said clearly he did not. There was nothing there but the lechem upon him. Says the Gemara. So Elo what? Elo Elamai derchoil the kamerlu hachkamerlu. Leika lechem kim lechem upon him moisef v'nei Hashem. The only bread that we have is lechem upon him. I'm sorry, I don't have bread for you. I have kodesh for you. I can't give you bread because the only bread we have is lechem upon him. Says lechem upon him is not a problem. Why? Because once who takes lechem upon him? The Kohanim. Once the Kohanim eat it, there's no meal anymore. So you have no problem to give it to me.
Once they eat it, there's no lechem.
I'm saying once they have said once it's mutter to eat. Look at Rosh Rashi, last Rashi Dalmut. Rav Kol Meir, the Kohanim still koi mutter l'Kohanim. Chosheyesh lo shases l'Kohanim en mamilu. Right? So
If they eat it, they can give it to other people to eat too.
there's no meilo. Could be this not mutter, but it's not meilo. So what he's saying is like this. He says, in other words, he says you can give it to me. So the Gemara in question says they didn't bake the lechem hapanim.
But isn't, I mean, I thought it still can only be, can it only be by Kohanim? Meal is just, you can't have a no from it, but I'm saying,
Right,
how
right.
can you give it, what's this tiny, like, since there's no meal, you could have given it, but you could have, I mean, Yisrael can't eat lechem hapanim, so the Kohanim eat lechem hapanim.
So why is it the meal?
No, so
It's no meal because it's already, you took it off the
Shaila,
the Kohanim, there's no meal.
I think the Shaila the Kohanim can give it as a gift to him. It belongs to Kohanim, give the gift.
Kohanim can give lechem hapanim as a gift?
There should be.
No, there's two. There's the meal. No, there's no meal. There's meal while it's on the shulchan. Once it comes off once the Kohanim can eat it, there's no meal. It's mutter Kohanim. Just like they can eat it, for sure they can have.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's no bigger hanoah than eating it.
Let's see.
For them.
No, the Shaila is can he give it to Yisrael to eat
There's
it?
no meal. You can't say there's no meal to the Kodesh. There's meal to the Yisrael.
Somebody else eats it. What do you call it?
It's also. It's not meila. Meila is then. There's no meila for one person, not meila for another person. There's a meila for everybody. There's either meila for everybody, there's meila for nobody. But this is not a meila issue.
There's no meal.
Only the Kohen can eat.
You see, it says. Oh, so they add. That's what I was thinking. He says of course, Dor is not supposed to eat it regularly, but here Dor was in Sekras Nefashos. So we'll see in a moment. So he says, first of all, there's no meila anymore. So it's not so chamer. It's not so chamer. That's what they bring over here.
No, the second thing.
One second, let's finish. So he said, first, so they add over here that even in the first one was saying, listen, I'm very, very hungry. It's not even meila right now, so it's not so bad. And he says, given the meila and derechol, first of all, derechol, it's already choil anyway. Even the one that was kodesh today, meaning even if you had lechem that was not given to kohanim, still avulei. The lechol. Why? The sukkah. The more he was about to die. So Doimel says, first of all, this one is not so shver. This is choil. Meaning it doesn't have meilo. Yeah, I'm not supposed to eat it, but it's not so bad. But even if it would be kodesh, I could eat it. That's what he says. So just to explain, the last one, the Gemara says, where he asks, you want to tell me you had lechem hapanim? He came, he said, I don't have bread to give you, only the bread that was given to the Kohanim. So it wasn't baked. He said, oh, you saw the baking, you give him mussar, why are you baking here? We didn't bake it. The Hapanim was there after a full week. So the Gemara, so what did he tell them? He told them, you give me the lechem hapanim. Says the Gemara, so what's the machlekes of Rabbi Shimon if that's not the pasuk? So what Rabbi Shimon, the Gemara pligi. They're not arguing the pshat of the pasuk. The pshat of the pasuk is referring to lechem hapanim that was there for a week. So that can you eat it or not? Not regarding the baking of lechem hapanim. So how do they know the machlekes? Can you bake or not? Says the Gemara pligi. They're arguing in the Masoris they govern the fathers. They can have time. Always say. So always say that lechapanim is kosher everywhere. Say the din is Mashma is coming to tell you that it's a din of a Gemara. What did I get from my Rebbe? I got from my Rebbe this Vasayris that lechapanim doesn't have kedusha until it goes on the shulchan. So the Gemara concludes that is the machlekes is the Gemara pligi. Does everything kedusha or not? It comes out to be there's three shittas. Shitta number one in the Mishnah holds that there's no kedusha in the lechem until it goes to the tanur. So the baking has to be done inside. Rabbi holds there's no kedusha at all until you put it on there's kedusha right away. So therefore everything has to be done inside. And Rabbi Shimon holds there's no kedusha until you put it on the table, so everything can be done outside. This will conclude this stuff.
Maybe it says Lo'ilam, it's a remnants that it's Hashem will be a blessing in this
Ah,